The Chicago Bears have officially lost one of their own. Jack Sanborn, a player who fought his way from an undrafted free agent to a key contributor, is leaving Chicago. And where is he headed? To the Dallas Cowboys, but that is not even the most painful part for Bears fans. He is going to play for Matt Eberflus, the former Bears head coach who struggled in Chicago and is now the defensive coordinator in Dallas. This is not just a minor roster move. This is a big deal. Jack Sanborn was never supposed to be a star. In fact, when he arrived in Chicago in 2022, he was an undrafted free agent. That means no team thought he was worth selecting in the National Football League draft. But from the moment he stepped onto the field, he proved people wrong. Not just wrong, completely wrong. He showed that sometimes the biggest stars are not the ones taken in the early rounds of the draft. Sometimes they are the ones who slip through the cracks, the ones overlooked, the ones who have to claw their way onto a roster, and that is exactly what Sanborn did. Sanborn made a name for himself during his rookie year. He got his chance when the Bears decided to trade their star linebacker, Roquan Smith, to the Baltimore Ravens. Suddenly, Sanborn was not just fighting for a roster spot, he was starting in the middle of the defense. And he made the most of it. In only 6 games before suffering an ankle injury, he recorded 64 tackles and 2 sacks. Those are impressive numbers for a rookie, let alone one who was not even drafted. Think about that. He stepped into a role previously held by one of the best linebackers in the league, and he delivered. He did not just survive, he thrived. He read plays like a seasoned veteran. He was always around the football, and he made big plays when the Bears needed them. He played with heart, intelligence, and a relentless drive that made him impossible to ignore. Fans loved him, and it is easy to see why. He played with passion, intensity, and intelligence. He was not the biggest or the fastest player on the field, but he always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. That is what made him special. He was the definition of a hard-working, blue-collar linebacker, and in a city like Chicago, where defense is part of the team's identity, players like that do not come around often. This is a franchise that has been built on the backs of legendary linebackers. Dick Butkus, Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher, linebackers who defined what it meant to play in Chicago. Sanborn was never going to be in that tier, but he fit the mold of what fans wanted. A tough, hard-nosed, no-excuses player who left everything on the field. But things changed in 2023. The Bears made some big moves in free agency, signing 2 high-profile linebackers in Tremaine Edmunds and TJ Edwards. Suddenly, Sanborn was no longer the guy in the middle of the defense. Instead, he became a backup, filling in when needed. He still played well, finishing the season with 65 tackles, 1 interception, 1 sack, and 7 tackles for loss. But his playing time dropped significantly. He went from being a promising young starter to a rotational player. It was not that he had done anything wrong, he was just the odd man out. The Bears had invested a lot of money in Edmunds and Edwards. When you pay 2 linebackers big contracts, they are going to be the ones getting the majority of snaps. In 2024, it was more of the same. He was still an important part of the team, but his role was shrinking. His snap count dropped, his impact on the field was reduced, and it became clear that the Bears had moved in a different direction. By the end of the season, it was obvious Sanborn was not in the team's long-term plans. And that is when the biggest shock of all happened. Sanborn was a restricted free agent, which meant the Bears had the ability to keep him if they wanted to. All they had to do was tender him a contract. But they did not. Instead, they let him walk. Just like that, he was gone. No compensation, no trade, no effort to keep him. He was free to sign with any team in the league. And one team wasted no time in picking him up. That team was the Dallas Cowboys. And the man behind the move? Matt Eberflus. Yes, the same Matt Eberflus who coached the Bears for 2 disappointing seasons before getting fired. Now he is the defensive coordinator in Dallas, and one of his first moves was bringing in Sanborn. That tells you everything you need to know. Eberflus knows what kind of player Sanborn is. He knows his intelligence, his toughness, his ability to read plays. He knows that Sanborn can be an asset to any defense, and now he is taking him to Dallas. For the Cowboys, this is a smart move. They needed depth at linebacker. Their defense struggled with injuries last season. and they needed a player who could step in and contribute right away. Sanborn is that kind of player. He may not be the most athletic linebacker in the league, but he is reliable, disciplined, and always in the right spot. He is the kind of player that coaches love to have on their team, and under Eberflus, he could carve out a major role. Do not be surprised if he ends up starting at some point this season. But for Bears fans, this one hurts. Sanborn was not just another player, he was a symbol of everything Chicago football is about. He was a guy who worked his way up, fought for his spot, and never backed down. And now he is gone. And to make things worse, he is going to a team that many Bears fans do not like. Losing him is one thing, but seeing him in a Cowboys jersey, that is a whole new level of pain. The big question now is whether the Bears made the right decision. Some fans believe they should have kept him. Even if he was not a starter, he was a valuable piece of the defense. Injuries happen all the time in the National Football League. Depth matters. And when you have a player like Sanborn who can step in and contribute at a high level, it is tough to let him go. On the other hand, the Bears have a plan. General Manager Ryan Poles has a vision for this defense. He is looking for speed, versatility, and coverage ability at the linebacker position. That is why Sanborn, who is more of a traditional run-stopping linebacker, may not have been the perfect fit. From a roster-building perspective, it makes sense, but that does not make it any easier to accept. So what happens next? The Bears will likely look to replace Sanborn through the draft or free agency. There are always young linebackers looking for an opportunity, but no matter who they bring in, fans will be watching to see how Sanborn performs in Dallas. If he thrives under Matt Eberflus and becomes a key piece of the Cowboys' defense, people will question whether the Bears made a mistake. Sanborn was a player who gave everything he had to the Chicago Bears. He fought for every snap, every tackle, every moment on the field. Now, he is going to do that for another team. And for Bears fans, that is a tough pill to swallow. Jack Sanborn in a Cowboys jersey, it just does not feel right. But that is the reality. The Bears made their decision. Now we wait to see if it was the right one. What do you think? Should the Bears have kept Jack Sanborn, or was this just a business decision that had to be made? Let us know in the comments.